Okay. Good morning. So, we have quite the agenda. How shall we start? Let's start at the top of the mat. I'm going to face you, but you're fine just as you are. And we'll just bring the hands together. And just find your breath. This might be a difficult week coming up with the election on Tuesday. So notice in these postures, if a hard posture makes you stop breathing, you'll potentially need that skill of returning to your breath during this week. Maybe in conversations you have with people on the street, maybe while you're sitting home alone watching the news. We need to know how to come back to it. Let's release the arms down, open the eyes, and bend the knees so that you can inhale for Utkatasana. Arms up as the knees bend. Return to standing, arms down, legs straight. We'll do that a few more times. As you bend the knees and reach up, this is a bit of a back bend. So as you press into your feet and straighten the legs, you need to drop your tailbone a little bit and lift through that low belly. Again, bend the knees, reach up, inhale, and straighten the legs, exhale. So you have this lift in the low belly. Try to keep it even as you find your Utkatasana. So it is a back bend, but it's controlled. Let's just do one more like this. We'll find another Utkatasana. This time we'll fold forward as we exhale, straightening the legs some amount. Inhale, halfway up, and just come into plank for the exhale. And in this plank, we're pushing the floor away from us, so it'll feel a bit like the shoulder blades are coming apart. It'll feel like the forearms are squeezing in. If it does not feel like your forearms are squeezing in, make it so that it does. You can pretend there's a block there. You can actually put a block there. Just take one more breath. So the weight is on the inside of your hand. Let's just press the downward dog for the exhale. And return to plank for the inhale. Let's do this a few times. You'll notice that it's easier, maybe, to put the weight on the inside of your hand when you're in downward dog. Because there's less weight bearing down on you. So maybe it's not quite as stressful. But as best you can, keep the weight inside of your hand even when you're coming forward. It's like your pointer finger and thumb want to move toward each other. And they just do energetically, they don't physically. Let's take one more just forward and back. And when you're in your downward dog again, we'll just start to bend one knee at a time and use that to walk the feet forward toward the hands. Eventually they're toward the top of the mat. When you get there, inhale and fold, exhale. Bend to the knees for your Utkatasana, arms up. And twist to the right, hook your left elbow, exhale. Rise all the way to stand, reach up straight legs, tailbone down, and then twist the other way, exhale. We'll just do that again. Inhale, so it's the same as when you were standing before, except you're reaching up. Exhale to twist, which is going to mean you're needing more attention through the core. Inhale, reach up, but don't stick your lowest ribs out. Exhale to twist. And we'll reach up again and stand. And this time just stay here for a few breaths. Your arms can be palms together or shoulder width, doesn't matter. But the urge is to do this. Like you just stuck your landing in your floor routine for gymnastics. But instead, we need to drop the tailbone down, lift the pubic bone up, and keep that lift. This is one of the reasons why our inversions are so difficult. Once we put our hands on the floor and our feet in the air, we get a little bit noodly and we forget about this core strength. Okay, let's fold forward for the exhale. Come halfway up, inhale. And step to plank, exhale. And for now, we're just going to put the knees down. So it's actually a modified plank, but we're going to go straight line from knees to top of head, as opposed to tabletop where your butt would be back more. So let's exhale for a modified chaturanga. We're just going to feel the elbows touch the ribs, and we're going to straighten the arms again to this modified plank. And just do this a few times at your pace. It's a nice way to practice keeping the weight inside the hand. And it's also a nice way to practice squeezing the forearms in, because you'll feel literally your elbows touch the side of your ribs. If they don't and they're splaying out, it's very obvious. And as you straighten the arms, the more you squeeze your forearms toward each other, the easier it is, the more cooperation you have. So after your next time with straight arms, we'll just lift the knees and press to downward dog. And we'll stay here for a few breaths. It should be somewhat restful after what you just did. But it's all relative, so maybe not. Okay, let's start to walk the feet forward. And when you get them to the top of the mat, inhale halfway and exhale, fold. Bend into the knees for utkatasana. Inhale and twist to the right like you did before, exhale. This time we're going to push our leg into our arm, look down for the sake of balance, and step the left foot back. So we're just going to twist and lunge. And once you get into that lunge shape, try to look up again and see the ceiling that's right over your head. Just notice, is your back leg straight? If you're choosing to put your back knee on the floor, that's fine, but there's not really an in-between. There's either a straight leg or a knee down. Okay, let's look down again for the sake of balance. Back foot forward to meet the front foot, and untwist and reach the arms up. And my computer's in the way of my little climbing monkey girl. She is just so cute. Okay, other side. We'll twist to the left, hook our right elbow, and step our right foot back. So our torso should be coming up away from the thigh in order to twist deeper. Lisa, you can take a slightly longer stance. Slide your back foot, yeah, just a little more back. Yeah, good. And Carol, bring your thumbs closer to your chest, and your forearms will stack better. Okay, let's look down for balance, back foot forward. There's our twisted chair. And we'll untwist and reach up, and again, we'll stay here in this place where it seems like nothing is happening, but we're just trying to undo some habits here. So we're trying to tuck that lowest rib in a little bit, find a lift through the pelvic floor, get a little taller. And on your next exhale, let's fold forward. Halfway up for the inhale, and we'll step to plank for the exhale. So you might decide, again, you want your knees down. That's fine. The modified plank, we're going to, again, work through that chaturanga position. So you choose knees up or down. On the exhale, we'll bend the elbows, and we'll straighten the arms again to plank. Inhale. So just a chaturanga for the exhale, and squeeze your arms to straight by squeezing them in toward the midline. And after about 3 to 5, we'll just meet in downward dog. No need to make yourself too tired. But the way that we get our arms straight is by squeezing in and pushing down. Okay, let's start to walk the feet forward toward the hands. When you get there, inhale, and fold, exhale. Find your Utkatasana again, and we'll twist to the right again. I like to undo the hands, get the elbow where I want, and then put the hands together again. So our thumbs are pretty close to the body in order to stack the forearms. We're going to lift the chest up, and let's return to our lunge, left foot back. However, we're not going to stay in the lunge. We're going to keep our right leg bent, but find a standing balance. So we'll shift our weight forward, come onto the toenails of the back foot, and then lift the back leg up. Some amount off the ground. You'll have to keep pushing your right leg into your left arm. That tension there is going to help you stay balanced. Gently return to your lunge. Let's untwist. Just lift the arms, high lunge. Open it up to warrior two, exhale. Straighten your front leg, inhale. Bend your front leg, exhale. Straighten for the inhale. Bend for the exhale. This time lower the hands and find your plank again. We're just going to take 3 more of the little chaturanga to planks. You choose back knees or back knees. You only have 2 knees. So knees up or down. Exhale, bend the elbows. Inhale, straighten the arms. Candace, get your elbows closer to your body. Think of angling them to face your feet. Good. Okay, and we meet in downward dog. We won't stay there, however. We're going to walk forward because we have the other side. It's a little balance thing. So when you get your feet forward, inhale and exhale. We'll meet in Utkatasana. And we'll find our twist. So however deep you want to go is fine. The deeper you are, the easier it will be to keep the link. You don't want your arm to slide off. Let's meet in the lunge. And just practice pushing top hand down and leg and arm together. So we'll shift the weight forward, come onto the toenails of the right foot, slide another few inches forward so the right leg doesn't have to be on the floor for balance. You can lift it up and you'll reach it back. This is a fun side and very wiggly. Let's meet in our lunge again. We'll untwist, reach up, and open up warrior two. Adjust your feet if they're not already in your warrior two stance. Now we inhale to straighten the front leg. Exhale to bend it. And again, inhale. And exhale. And let's place the hands down and step back, just a normal vinyasa. There's a weird little thing on my screen. It went away. Good. Okay, let's try heaven and earth. So we're going to lower our left elbow down, so it's right behind the wrist. Walk your right hand forward about 6 inches so that your right arm is straight. Bring the feet together and then lift your right leg up. So our right hand is forward of our left hand. If it wasn't, the right arm would not be straight. But having it straight is going to help us push down and out. It's going to help us get that right leg maybe a little bit more up. And just lower the right foot and we'll try the other side. So the right elbow will come down and in. You'll be in down dog B for just a moment. Make sure your right elbow is behind your right wrist. And slide your left hand forward and lift your left leg up. So sometimes when we're in a forearm dog, our hands slide together and our elbows slide apart. Now that you only have to deal with one arm, be more diligent about making sure it stays right where you started it. The fingers do not move in And the elbow does not move out. Okay, lower that foot. Bring both elbows down for your down dog B. The head is off the ground. Our fingertips are clawing at the floor so that there's no hand migration, so that our fingers can help us push the chest back. Okay, re-straighten the arms. Start to walk your feet forward toward your hands. And just roll yourself up to standing however you want to. And let's just take our thumbs to our lowest ribs, our middle fingers to our hip bones. And we're just going to exhale to do like a little crunch, a little rounding. You'll feel the front side of your body get smaller. And then do the opposite, separate your fingers and stick your butt out. You'll feel your rib come forward. And just do that a few times so that you can feel what your range is. And so you can see how the front body contributes to the back body. We're going to try our down dog B again in a moment, because the tendency is in down dog B is to stick the ribs out and go into this back bend thing. But we're going to try to do it even with this rib tucked bit. You'll feel it more in your shoulders. So let that go, feet together. Inhale, reach up. And exhale to fold forward. Halfway up for the inhale. And we'll just send the left foot back for the exhale. We will go to down dog B, we're just detouring. Left hand flat, right arm up, simple twist. Roll both shoulders back. Walk that right foot back about 18 inches or so and have it face the side of the mat, the long edge. For the side plank variation, we're going to push the hips up high and we're going to keep leaning the shoulders back. Let's extend the top arm over the ear. You'll feel a really nice stretch through the side body. And let's lower the hand, step back, vinyasa. And from this downward dog, we'll lower to the forearms so we end up in down dog B. And as you're lowering, maybe just go a few inches and then look at your elbows. Are they like this, out to the side? This is very common and it's not that helpful for you. So point your elbows down so that when you bend them a few inches, they're actually closer to the floor. They're not winging out to the side. Takes a lot of tricep strength. And once you get to your down dog B, just tuck your lowest rib in a little bit. Your hands are occupied, so you can't feel it the way that you could when we were standing. Okay, re-straighten the arms. And we'll just bring the left foot forward. So we're in simple twist on the other side. Right hand down, left arm up. And either, actually, let's stay for just one more moment here. But you can stay here the whole time if it hurts your ankles in any way to do the side plank variation. When you're ready, walk the left foot back. The edge of that right foot is on the floor, but the ankle bone is not. So you have to keep your foot very flexed. There's no weird bending going on in the ankle. Stretch the top arm over the ear. Keep moving that top hip toward the back of your mat. And let's untwist, either vinyasa or go straight to downward dog. And when you get to downward dog, we're just going to walk our hands back to our feet. We'll take hold of the big toes with the first two fingers and thumbs. Inhale. And exhale to fold any amount. So it's going to feel like you're trying to pull your toes off your foot with your hands. But of course, they will not fly off your foot because they are pushing down into the floor. They are not going anywhere. but there's that idea of tension. Okay, let's release the hands down again. Walk into your downward dog and find your heaven and earth. The left elbow down, the right hand walks forward a few inches, right leg up. Now right hip is gonna open. So the leg goes actually higher than it otherwise would with a square hip. Just keep the legs as straight as you can. In a moment, we're gonna step the right foot forward. Your left elbow is just gonna pop off the ground. You won't have to think much about it. So use an exhale and bring your right foot forward. And let's lower the left knee down to the ground. Hands to the right thigh or knee or anywhere in between. And let's just back up a few inches by unbending the front leg, square the hips more, and then rebend those few inches. And just go back and forth so that you can practice digging your front heel into the floor. That will help us kind of organize the hips and not get too excited about the full pose. But also as you unbend the front leg, you'll have a better chance at lifting the pubic bone and tucking the tailbone so that you find that core strength again. Okay. Let's lower the fingertips. Lift the back knee, parsvakonasana. Back heel down. Your right hand can stay there and as you reach out over the ear, or you can move your elbow up to your thigh. Let's take a few breaths here. And Lisa, your top arm is a little bent. There we go. So it could be up a few inches higher even. That'll help get it straighter. Okay, let's turn this into triangle pose. Straighten the right leg. Sweep the left arm up. You might want a shorter stance, you might not. You might want to reach for your big toe. And Anouk, let's move your shoulders back a few inches. And your head as well. Okay, and let's unravel. And we'll just step back, downward dog. We'll come right into the other side. Right elbow down, left hand a little more forward, left leg up. Just practice pressing your chest back, tucking your ribs in, so that it's not just willy-nilly using the flexibility of your spine to get into this position. It's a lot of leg, it's a lot of shoulder. And on your exhale, we'll step left foot forward. The right elbow will just pop off the ground. Right knee down and hands up to that left leg. So if we just go as far as we can, there is a great stretch, but sometimes we lose the core strength or we lose the squareness. So just go back and forth in your range and just try to keep your right hip moving forward, your tailbone moving down, your pubic bone moving up. Notice how much your left heel digging into the floor is controlling where you are in space. The chest is lifting so that there's not like a burden of body weight bearing down on your low back. Okay, let's turn this into parsvakonasana. So we'll lower the fingers down, lift the back knee, spin the back heel to the floor, and reach the right arm out over the ear. There's 1,000 ways to adjust your arm so that it gets out comfortably over the ear. A lot of the time what I do is like a robot arm, and I roll the shoulder back, just like we would if we're in a robot arm from Asana. And then I feel like the shoulder can stay back as I scoop that hand overhead. There's countless ways. Okay, and we'll turn this into triangle by straightening the left leg, reaching the right arm up, leaning the shoulders back. Sometimes we lean back, but we are resisting, so we still jut our chin forward. So bring the palate back, and the palate is defined as where your neck meets the base of your skull. So if you visualize your tongue going out the back of your head instead of out the front of your head, it's basically there. So press that part back. And let's lower the hands to the floor and step back, downward dog. Okay, so tripod headstand number 1. We're going to do a few things throughout the next hour. So in tripod, we have our 2 hands and a head, make a triangle. And we can see with our eyeballs that our elbows are over our wrists. So as you're coming up, feel free to only go to about here. There's no reason really that you have to go all the way up, because if you go all the way up, maybe you're going to fall over. And that's not always fun. It can be, but it's not always. So once you're lifted to wherever you want to go, you're just going to bring your right knee toward your right elbow. And then you're going to bring it to where it was before you moved it to your elbow. And then you'll bring your left knee to your left elbow. And you'll bring it back to where it was. And we'll meet in a child's pose. Candace, elbows in just a little more. Yeah, good. Okay. So when you've had enough of such things, we'll come into downward dog. And we'll just shake out the head, make sure there's no tension in the neck. Let's lift the right leg up and just step it forward to the hand for a high lunge. Inhale. Open up to warrior 2, exhale. And we'll take our parsvakonasana again, but this time our left arm is going to go behind the back. And we'll attempt to grab our right thigh. You can either keep your elbow where it is, or bring your right hand down, big toe side of the foot. We'll just stay here for a few breaths. Nothing too crazy, but we are moving toward something that might be a little much. Let's keep our arm back there for triangle pose. So we'll straighten the right leg. Have your right hand jump onto that right leg, either the shin, ankle, big toe. Then move the palate back, especially if you're French. There we go. All right, we're going to attempt ardha chandrasana with our left arm still behind us. I'm just going to scoot back for the sake of the camera, but you're fine as is. You just bend the right leg a little bit, launch your weight onto it, and lift the left leg up. The right hand can stay just under your shoulder, or if this is too easy for you, put your right hand on your ankle. We're going to meet in Anjaneyasana. So from our balance, we're going to untwist and square ourselves to the floor, and step the left foot back, and drop the left knee down. So we're in this place that we've already been. And maybe you want to do, again, a little bit of the moving back and forth so you can find your squareness and your core strength. Okay, so left hand down, left knee up. We're going to go to that side plank variation again, where we lift our hips and we push the sole of the right foot into the floor. Either stay here or hold onto your right knee, come onto just that foot and hand so that your right knee is now moving toward your armpit. And it just is your right elbow bending to pull your knee in. And so from wherever you are, release your foot back, hand down, And we just find a plank. The hips are pretty high in plank. They're not droopy. There's no banana effect. We're going to go straight from plank to upward facing dog. So we'll intentionally roll to the feet, drop the hips, lift the chest, and pull ourselves forward. And downward dog from there. Okay, left leg up high, inhale. Step forward, exhale. High lunge, inhale. Into warrior two, exhale. Left elbow to the thigh, right arm behind the back. So the right shoulder has to roll forward. The elbow bends sort of behind you so that you can get your hand comfortably over the thigh. Do whatever you want with that left hand. If you come down low, just try to keep leaning back. It's tempting if you put your hand on the floor to kind of lean forward. Okay, turning it into a triangle with this right arm still stuck behind us. Adjust your stance as needed. Put your left hand somewhere where you can still keep your legs straight. So if you want your hand to go to your big toe, but the leg can't stay straight, then you need to stop wanting to get your hand to your big toe. You just have to keep your desires in check, because who cares? Okay, into ardha chandrasana. Our weight shifts into that left foot. We lift the right leg up and we flex the foot and kick back. And sometimes we've done this in the studio where we literally kick into a wall, and that feels really good because it helps you get your chest to move opposite, away from the wall. So you end up very long. Okay, so we'll stay in the balance as we untwist. Square your hips down and step back, Anjaneyasana. I have to wipe some sweat. Okay. So into simple twist we go. Right knee up, right hand down. Make sure your fingers are clawing the floor, even though you can cheat in this way. Right now, you're training your right hand to do something like a handstand or a armpit. So when you can, walk your left foot back, lift your hips up, and make a choice. Do you feel solid in your shoulders? If you have shoulder issues, maybe it's going to be very helpful to keep your foot on the ground. Otherwise, you can pull your left knee in toward your armpit. Let's meet in plank. Make a game plan for how you're going to pull your chest through your arms. So we'll come onto the tops of the feet, hips down, shoulder blades move toward each other and down. And find your downward dog. Or child's pose if you feel like you need to rest. That was very hard, what we just did. I sort of feel like I need to rest. Whew. Okay, right leg up high, inhale. And step to the hands, exhale. Warrior one or high lunge. The difference being back heel up or down. Let's take steeple mudra, interlace the fingers, point your finger up, and just use that to get your arms a little straighter. So you feel like you can touch the ceiling a little easier. And keep the lift that you have through your body, but twist a bit so you can bring your left hand to your front leg and your right hand to your back leg. Feels like a huge twist, but really it's not very huge. Okay. Unravel, fingertips down. And let's just slide that back foot in a few inches for twisted triangle. I'm going to grab my block, because lately I've been loving this block. If you do have a block at home, remember it has 3 sides. If you don't have a block at home, you have hooks that go to infinite heights. A sliver or a huge thing. Okay, let's unravel. And we'll meet in our Asana so we can find a half split. Once the knee is down, we'll straighten the right leg. We'll press the toenails toward the shin bone. Rebend that front leg, palms flat, vinyasa. Before I forget, we have to do the other side. Left leg up high, inhale, step forward, exhale, for either high lunge or warrior. Sometimes when we go to warrior, it's very hard to square the hips and we end up on a diagonal. Sometimes it crunches in the back, so you'll just have to make some choices about what works for you. You could do this with your hands instead of steeple mudra. You could literally adjust yourself. But eventually the adjustments will come from deep core muscles, from a flexibility of hip flexor, from inner thighs squeezing together. Okay, let's lower right hand to left thigh, left hand to right thigh. Let's try to get our back leg a little straighter. I could call out a few of you, but pretty much all of us are on that list, so we might as well all do it. Good. And let's unravel. Set up for your twisted triangle. This is heel to heel alignment, unless that feels too wobbly to you. And if that feels wobbly, just move your right foot further to the right. Good. So palate back even here. Okay, and let's unravel. We'll meet in Asana for half split. And those left toes, they might be very averse to moving toward your shin. You might need to actually use your hand. That's fine. Try to keep your quads strong. Okay, and we'll rock forward. Let's meet in plank. We're going to try to go back and forth from a plank to a forearm dog. So lift your butt, lower your elbows down, and they have to move in as they lower down. And rock forward to plank, straight arms. Just go back and forth a few times. This is going to be a lot of tricep. So if you find you're getting too tired, err on the side of not very many times. But definitely keep the elbows in. And we're going to meet in down dog B. So the next time that you're down on your forearms, just make any adjustments you need to and walk your feet maybe a little closer to your elbows. Okay, and let's come down to the knees, just so we can lift ourselves up, and we'll come forward onto the belly. Sphinx pose with a shoulder stretch. So the Sphinx is just for a general setup. We're going to have our left arm slide under the right elbow, and then the right arm walk over to the left, so that we get our arms pretty much in a straight line. Then we drop the head toward the ground. Some of you, your forehead will touch the floor. Wherever you end up, try to keep your pubic bone heavy. The tendency is for the hip bones to get real heavy, and then the butt sticks up toward the ceiling. So instead, your belly button will draw up and your pubic bone will press down. Okay, let's return to our Sphinx pose, just so that we can do the other side. The right hand will slide out under the left arm, And the left arm walks out. So the fingers will crawl you into your position. Okay. Let's start to walk it in again to a Sphinx. So in Sphinx, we have our fingers right in front of our elbows. We're going to change this a little bit and just bring your thumbs to touch. So now it's more of a V, less parallel. From there, curl your toes, hoist your hips up. So you're in a forearm plank, but with this V shape of your hands. Draw the feet together, come to the edge of the left foot, and reach your right arm up. So it's a side plank on your forearm, which is a great way to do it because then we avoid any wrist issues. Plus now maybe you're more aware of your shoulder situation. Let's come through center over to the other side. So that V shape with the forearm and then left arm up. And the V shape just makes for a bit of an easier shoulder positioning. You don't have to do it that way. Let's return to our center place. Left hand stays down, right hand up again. This time, potentially, just like you did before, bring your right knee in toward your armpit. And then you'll feel a little bit more of an urgency to keep your hips high. Let's release that, try the other side. Sometimes we only behave if we give ourselves this urgency. I know that is definitely true for me. I get very complacent and lazy otherwise. Okay, we'll let that go. Either take child's pose for a few breaths or go to your down dog V for a few breaths. And we'll meet in a regular down dog with arms straight, legs straight. Okay, right leg up high, inhale. Step to the hands, exhale. High lunge, inhale. To warrior two, exhale. We're going to attempt a bind under this right leg. So earlier you did a half bind when you had your left arm behind your back. You could do that again. If you want to try for the full bind, instead of getting your fingers stuck on top of your thigh, you would have your knuckles toward the right hip. And from wherever you wound up, you're going to try straightening your right leg for your inhale, would be a bound triangle, and exhale to bend the knee again, bound parsvakonasana. So just do that a few times in whatever range of motion you can get. It's going to depend a lot on how much you bound. The more bound you are, the less likely it's going to be for your right leg to be straight. Okay, so let's slowly unravel, bend the knee to get the unraveling comfortable, and quarter turn to the left for prasarita D. We're going to reach for the big toes. First two fingers and thumbs, inhale, and exhale to fold. So it's just like earlier when you had this grip. It should feel like you're trying to pull your toe off your foot. So you have a lot of energy in the arms. But your toe is very nicely pressing down into the floor. I always need to think about the shoulders trying to defy gravity here. Otherwise, I find them smushed up by my ears. Okay, let's slowly release and walk our hands toward the top of the mat. Either vinyasa or just step back to downward dog. And we'll get to try the other side. So we'll lift the left leg and bring it forward. We'll rise up and somehow open up. You might need to wiggle around as you're getting into position. Another way, if you're finding your shoulders don't like binding too much, if you bring your hands out a bit, like right now I have mine literally off the mat, you can get your shoulders lower, which then makes it easier when you walk your hands forward to get that arm under. So when you've got whatever bind situation you're going for, you're going to straighten your left leg some amount. You're pushing into the ball of the foot and exhale to bend it again. And just keep going back and forth at your pace. If you can keep drawing the belly in, it does help keep the balance, because when your leg is straight, sometimes that wobbling is inevitable. Okay. So the next time your knee is bent, just undo your arms. We'll go quarter turn to the right. And this time we'll attempt to get our elbows down to the mat. They may go very easily, they may not. It's going to depend on your hamstrings quite a bit. So go as low as you can and maybe interlace your fingers, place your head, and just play with the idea of lifting your heels off the ground, just shifting the weight. Some of you might want to come up into a headstand. Obviously, if your elbows do not touch the floor, a headstand would not be a thing at this moment, because you don't want to jump into it and clunk your head on the ground. So if you're in a headstand, start to separate your legs again. When your feet get down, walk your hands toward the top of your mat, and we'll all meet in downward dog. Let's walk our hands back to our feet. And when you get there, roll yourself up. Try to draw the belly in so that you feel your mid-back articulate a bit. Okay. So option to grab a strap. We're going to reach for our big toe and have our leg out in front and then out to the side. You could use a strap, or what I would do if I didn't want to straighten my leg fully is I would just stay here. But that's because I don't use very many props. But sometimes props are fun, so you decide. Leg is either bent or straight. We're pushing the ball of the foot away from us, even if the knee is bent. Left hand is just on the hip. Good. Bring the leg out to the right side. If you can balance, look out to the left. And to help with your balance, try to point your foot more. So think of a Barbie foot. Push the ball of your foot further away from you. It makes balance much easier. Good. Bring the leg center. We're going to keep it at this height, but interlace the fingers underneath the thigh. Now roll the shoulders back, point the toes. It's very easy to keep the leg here because our arms are doing the work. In a moment, we're going to slip our hands to our hips. Life is going to get very difficult. So very slowly start to move your hands so that your legs figure out how to stay there. It's going to be a lot of your left foot pushing down, a lot of reaching out through your right toes, and then let it go, shake it out. Holy moly, that is hard. Okay, let's try the other side. So before you actually go to lift your leg, just notice, are you standing crazy? Remember, you're not online at the grocery store. You're on your mat. So belly in, tailbone down, ribs in, breath is full through the ribs. So the low belly doesn't move, even as you're taking full breath. Okay, left leg comes in, shoulders stay over the hips, and we start to push out through the ball of the foot until the hamstring says, no mas. We try to roll that left shoulder back so that the weight of the leg doesn't pull us out of that shoulder integrity. Regardless of if your left leg is straight, you can get your right leg straight. Let's bring the left leg out to the left. Gaze to the right. Your right arm could be out here like a kickstand, like holding the wall, or just like an acrobat on a string kind of sensation. Good, bring it front again. Interlace under the thigh, point the toes, shoulders back. And think about your right foot pushing down as you slip your hands to your hips. and let it go. Shake it out. Yikes. We can all blame Carol for making us do that. Okay, so we're gonna meet in downward dog again. You can either just be at the back of your mat and literally walk into it, or you can come to the front of your mat and take full vinyasa to it. It matters not. We'll all end up there eventually. Okay. So we're going to bring our right foot forward and find our warrior two again. This will be the last one like this. We're going to try to bind and then go into ardha chandrasana. Sounds crazy, but we're just going to take it a step at a time. So like you did before, find the bind that you want. It could be just the left arm, where your right hand will actually go to the floor. If you're taking full bind, your right hand is occupied. It's holding your left wrist. So we'll shift our weight into that right foot, and we'll start to lift the left leg up. Okay, that looks pretty good. Then lower down again to your warrior two stance, and let's meet in ardha chandrasana. Not ardha chandrasana, sorry, anjaneyasana. I could not speak when I was in that standing balance just now. I don't know if you noticed how mute I got. It was taking all of my focus to not fall over. Okay, let's find our Hanumanasana by just backing up that left knee a little bit until the hamstring or the hip flexor says yabasta, which means enough already, which is usually like a protest cry. But sometimes we do protest on our mat. We just have to pay attention. Okay, so we'll return to our Anjaneyasana by just scooting that left knee in again. And think about whether side plank works for you on your palm, or if you have wrist issues, you'll come to your forearm like we did before. We're going to attempt to now hold the big toe. And very similarly to when you put your knee near your armpit, you will then lift your foot up toward the ceiling. And it's that point foot that you had in your standing balance. Think about the Barbie foot. And Lisa, bring your top leg back a little more. It's kind of close to your wall. Good. Okay, slowly get out of there. And somehow take a rest, either kneeling or downward dog. The true exit for that pose is lowering the leg, rocking to plank, and finding upward facing dog, then downward facing dog. So it does illuminate the chaturanga. Okay. Let's do it all on the other side. So from down dog, we'll step our left foot forward. We'll find our bound parsvakonasana. And we're all going to define that differently. A lot of shoulder work. And remember when you were practicing straightening your left leg to get into that triangle, it's that same kind of idea. When you rock forward, you're going to try to straighten your left leg, but it might not go. Mine's not getting all the way straight. And we're reaching out with that right leg, forward with the chest. Okay. And somehow find your Anjaneyasana when you're able. That was a great evidence for me about the inequality of sides. Let's start to scoot that right leg back for Hanumanasana. So even here, you could practice getting your point foot, so the ball of your foot pushing forward, because that's what's going to help get your leg up higher. Let's bring it into Anjane again. And when you're lifting your leg, your hips will go as well. So make a choice, right palm or right forearm. And we'll kick the ball of the foot up to the ceiling. Or you can choose the version with your knee coming toward your armpit. Good. So somehow getting out of that. If you want the traditional way, you'd go to plank, upward dog, downward dog. Okay. So we'll come to hands and elbows. We're going to just go for Baddha Hasta, Shirsasana A. And we're just going to try to push into this part of the hand, the little edge of the hand and the wrist, so that we can get our head like a ½ inch off the ground. And then we'll put it down again and we'll just go back and forth. So it's going to look like nothing is happening. It's going to look like a headstand. So just give it a try. You have a straight line between knuckles and elbows. And notice if there's any spot that's lifted off the ground through your foundation. It's very likely that a spot near your wrist is lifted. Try to push it down and use that to help you get your head off the ground an inch. Just play with going up and down. Notice how the legs start to sway a little bit. Try to keep them squeezing in toward each other. That's going to help give them something to occupy their minds. And then they will behave. And Lisa, you have your ribs sticking out just a little bit. Okay, good. Come on down. We're going to meet on our butts. And we're just going to bring our right knee in toward our chest, left leg straight out. And our chest is kind of smushed into our right thigh because you're holding yourself up here. So think about now pressing your right foot into the floor and then just reach forward. And the core now has to work, otherwise we would kind of lean back, we'd fall out of this place. Let's just take a gentle twist to the right so that right knee will move toward the left shoulder and try to look back. And notice that you're swiveling sort of on the axis of your spine. You're not leaning your shoulders back. Okay, untwist just a little bit. Left hand to that right edge of foot. Extend the leg out. Lift the right arm up. Kick. And periodically, you might need to glance forward because this leg, we want it to be straight in front of the hip. Sometimes we'll look at it and it's way off to left field. It doesn't always know what plane does it need to be on. Okay, then bend the knee. Place the foot on the outside of the left knee. And again, hug it to the left shoulder. So it's just a little bit more of a twist. If this is going well, hook your elbow. And let's press the knee back into the abyss that is the left side that we cannot see because we're looking over the right shoulder. Okay, let's slowly unravel. We're just going to vinyasa from there. If you're sick of vinyasa, just go to downward dog. I would understand. So all of that twisting that you just did, you're bringing your right knee to your left elbow, thereabouts. So we're going to try that from a headstand. It will be much easier from tripod because your elbow will be off the ground. You could do it from tripod or Baddha Hasta, you choose. And it's just gonna be a little twist. And we're just gonna go to the one side for now, maybe back and forth a few times. So you'll keep your left leg up and you'll bring your right knee in and across. Good. And Candace, as you're doing that, your elbows are staying in. Good. And then somehow come on down, and we're going to meet on our butts again so that we could just do the other side. So we'll start with our left foot close to our hip, and we're just sitting up tall. And if we're holding ourselves up with our arms, life is easy. Now let's reach forward. Life is just a little harder, but still doable. And then go to your twist. Let's untwist a little bit. Find your foot, kick out, press through the ball of the foot. Okay, bend into the knee, plunk the foot down on the outside of the knee, and twist as much as you would like, pushing the knee to the right. Gazing more and more over your left shoulder as you go. Good. And let's slowly get out of there. And somehow either vinyasa, or you could just go right into your tabletop position and set yourself up. For the other side, we'll just try to bring the left knee toward the right elbow. So any of the headstands that feel supportive for you. And if you're in tripod, you literally can get your knee to touch your elbow. Good, and the leg that's on top is gonna stay real strong and straight and lifting you up again, because otherwise there's a lot of gravitational power. And Miss Anouk, keep your knee close to your chest and then twist. That might help keep your top leg behaving a little bit. Okay, let's meet in downward dog. Okay, pigeon, right leg in front. Creep that left leg back just like you did in your Hanumanasana, so that you find a nice spot for your right hip. And we'll just come down to the forearms. We're going to turn this into swastikasana in a moment. And we won't do any fancy leg alterations. We're just going to end up with our forearm off the mat. So we'll walk our hands up. We'll rock onto our right hip so that we can bend our left leg so that our legs look somewhat like a swastika shape. Then our left forearm will come off the mat to the right with our forearm parallel to the long edge of the mat. And the hands are pretty close together. So we're going to use our left hand to pull us into a twist and our right hand to push us into the twist. And you decide how aggressive you go into it. Okay. Let's slowly unravel. Return to your pigeon for a moment. Pigeon shape in the legs. We're going to turn this into a downward dog with our right ankle on our left thigh. So as you press back, your right ankle is just going to be on your left thigh, and then with your brain power, you're going to push your right knee back. And we'll start to walk the hands back, bend the left leg, flying pigeon. Either stay there or stand up and turn this into a half lotus so that your right knee faces the floor. And then you fold forward over a straight left leg. So either way, you're going to have a hip stretch, whether you choose this or flying pigeon. And just take one more breath wherever this is. We're going to keep our right leg where it is as we return to downward dog. So you're either in your flying pigeon and you're thinking about pushing your right knee back, or you're in half lotus and you don't really have to think about anything because it's just stuck there. Just take one more breath and slowly release your right foot down. Okay, left leg forward, pigeon. So notice how your ankle and knee here in pigeon are on the same plane. Let's come down to the forearms. So when we're in the version where we're in down dog, we still want them to be on the same plane, but there's nothing to push it there except for your brain signaling to your hip muscles and your outer glutes to push. Okay, so we'll rise on up and we'll turn it into swastikasana. So that right leg will just relax a bit behind, nice easy 90-degree bends. And the right forearm will come off the left side of the mat. So the forearm is parallel to the left thigh. And use that right hand to pull you into the twist. Use the left hand to push you into the twist. Okay, let's slowly unravel. We'll return to the pigeon shape so that we can think about how we're going to get it into the down dog shape. So that right knee will lift up, and we'll just kind of magnetize the left ankle to the lower right thigh. Start to walk the hands back. And that right knee will bend so that the right thigh is a shelf for that left ankle to be perched upon. And you either stay there or start to work on your half lotus. You could always change your hands to a different location. If you're a flying pigeon, you don't have to have your hands on the floor. If you're in half lotus, you may want to wrap your left arm behind your back. Find something that is breathable for you. And we'll walk it into downward dog again. That right leg will straighten if you were in flying pigeon. Your glutes and thigh will push your knee back. Okay, let's all release that left foot down and either stay put or vinyasa so that you can make sure everything still works. Okay, so we'll come to the knees again. We're going to try our hands like in a prayer, but in headstand. So you did it earlier like this, fingers interlaced. Let's just see if you can keep prayer and the whole edge pushing down into the floor. And that's it. And then once you're up, if it's going well, try to lift your head an inch and then put your head down again. It's going to be very different. You may love it. You may not love it. but it will make you think. It will put you there in the moment. You will not be on autopilot. Glue the legs together. And let's just bring the knees to the chest. Hover there for a moment. Round your back just a little bit more. And then come on down. Good. Very smooth. Okay. Let's meet in tabletop, but with our forearms on the ground. And let's go for a cat-cow here. So when we inhale, we pull our chest forward, and when we exhale, we round. And it will not feel quite as much movement as when your arms are straight, but it's very good for your hands and forearms to feel the ground here and to push and pull you. Okay. Let's find a neutral place. And let's just practice coming from the forearms to the hands. So here you are with your forearms parallel to each other. You're going to push the ground away with your hands so much that you end up shooting your elbows off the ground and you wind up on your palms. It's a very quick kind of spring action. Good. So we're going to try it from a forearm plank into a chaturanga. You're going to love it. It's the same thing, real quick, but obviously the potential for crashing your nose into the floor, it is there. And just see if your arms can catch you. Reset each time. Remember all that work we did of keeping our elbows in. It's going to make it much easier if you keep your elbows in. Hips are nice and lofty.
My hands won't move at all.
Oh, it's so sad. Nah, I understand. I'm just kidding.
I'm really.
Yeah, I find that when I do it from Parsvakonasana, my hands are glued to the floor. For some reason, in this one, my hands will move. So we are going to try it in Pincha. Which, if it didn't work for you just now, does not mean it's not going to work in Pincha. So just watch the action here, and then I'm going to show you what it does for me in Pincha instead. So here, I'm about to replace my elbows with hands, and I end up in chaturanga. So theoretically in Pincha, that's the same thing for the exit, but watch what happens to me instead. I have never figured out how to do it the proper way. So here's Pincha. I want to come to chaturanga from here. So I'll wind up a little bit, bend the knees, then I'll shoot them back. And my hands stayed the same, but the elbows lifted because my hands are glued to the ground. So give it a try. It seems way crazier than it is. And Anouk, if you cannot balance in Pincha, this will not work because you cannot use your wall. So, for you, Miss Anouk, you are going to practice the entrance to Pincha, just like this. And if you're practicing your exit, by all means, keep doing that. I'm just going to show Miss Anouk. We're going to step one foot in. We're going to look at our thumbs, and we're just going to lift to here. Just trying to get some lightness. And that will get a lot of strength for your shoulders. Lisa, did you mean to come down one leg at a time? Okay, try it again then. Your legs have to be sort of symmetrical, otherwise it doesn't work. And Miss Anouk, your top leg, keep it straight. Okay, so we're gonna do one thing and we'll come back. Okay. That was cute. Lisa's camera moved when her feet landed. There was like a little earthquake visual. Okay, let's just come to the shins for a moment, or you can sit on your feet. We're just gonna take our hands to our ribs. And this is just because sometimes in pincha, we have no idea what is happening with our body. We're thinking so much about our legs and our elbows. The body is like a piece of grass in the wind. So let's put our fingers on our ribs connecting. Draw your low belly in and up so that there's no movement down there. And as we breathe, we're just going to breathe into the ribs. And we'll feel this expansion. And as we exhale, we'll feel more of a compression. And as you're doing this, try not to do what we do in cat-cow, where we arch and round the back. Try to keep that neutral. It's very tempting. As you inhale, you want to arch, and as you exhale, you want to round. But that then translates to a very wiggly inversion. And all of you in this class now, your shoulders are plenty strong for Pincha Mayurasana, and your legs are getting to the right spot. So now it seems like our disconnect is right here. So let's try it again. If you can nail Pincha, you're going to be thinking about your exit. If you're trying to get up into Pincha, just notice when you go to your down dog, sometimes we immediately stick our butt out and stick our lowest ribs out. So think about knitting it in. And then when you go to actually lift up, you're going to try to get your hips to travel. So we're not thinking about touching the wall with our top foot. We're thinking about our hips just gently perching over the shoulders. Dang, Carol, you just held that forever. So it could have been even longer if you brought your feet to touch. They were like close, but they never actually touched. Now a nook, push down into your fingers. Touch the ceiling more with your toes. Nice. Okay. So Carol will stay up for another few minutes, but the rest of us will come down to our backs. Okay, so sometimes the trick is if I give you too much, you get like the basic thing that you weren't getting before. So Pincha has been hard for months, for years. So now I'm trying to make you exit Pincha. All of a sudden you can stick Pincha like it's no big deal. So sometimes we have to shoot higher than we want just to get the basics down. Okay, let's lay back. Not that Pincha is basic in any stretch. And let's take our robot arms. We'll peel our butt off the floor. Lift our hips. Push our elbows down so we feel the chest poof up. Our upper back muscles are going to work, which then translates to an open chest. Let's interlace the fingers under the back and literally lean to the left so you can get your right arm further underneath you. Then lean to the right, get your left arm further under you. Eventually, palms are together, arms are straight. But if it hurts your shoulders to do that, then of course do not. Okay, slowly come on down. Place the hands by the shoulders. Point your elbows up to the ceiling and come into your ardha chandrasana or some other back bend of your choosing. We'll slowly come on down. And when was it? Today is Sunday, so it was Friday. We did like 30 minutes of prep for Viparita Dandasana. So perhaps go into Viparita Dandasana, which is the one where we place the head and we walk our hands back. And this is a shoulder thing, but it's a lot more legs than you think. So you're gonna press into your feet to get your chest to move toward the back of your mat. And you can even let your heels lift to make that happen. And then come on down. We're just going to take 2 more back bends. I'm going to watch you guys so that I can yell out my comments. You want to choose a back bend that allows you to feel open through the chest and throat. No pain in the wrists. Viparita Dandasana is a no pain in the wrist kind of place, so I love it for that reason. And Miss Candace, bring your toes in just an inch. Keep your heels where they are is fine, but your feet are currently like ducked out. Yes, there we go. Okay. All right, so come on down. And we're going to take a headstand of your choosing, but a Baddha Hasta. Actually, let's go either Baddha Hasta A or C. We'll just make it 2 choices. A is fingers interlaced, C is palms flat. We're going to just find our vertical, and then just a little back bend, and then vertical again. Little back bend, vertical. And that's it. So your head will be on the ground, but it will be moving a little bit when it's on the ground. And we just have to think about where are the hips in relation to the feet. Because as the feet move back, the hips have to move forward. And notice that every time you return to your vertical place, you have to reach up also, like you're going to touch the ceiling. Good, and then come on down. And we're just going to do 1 more back bend. For some of you, you can do what we just did, but take your feet all the way to the ground. If you want to use a wall, you put your feet on the wall and walk them down. Otherwise, you find your headstand and you literally topple over into Viparita Dandasana. So take your last back bend. You could also do it from Pinchamayurasana. And Miss Anouk, keep thinking elbows in. Yes. You can even walk your hands further apart in order to help get the elbows in. Now push towards straight arms and your hips will go forward. Yes. Oh, it's so hard. Okay. Good. So whenever you happen to be done with whatever last back bend you're doing, take your few breaths of rest. We're going to meet in Forearms. So it's symmetrical. We can wait for you there. We'll interlace our fingers on the toes and we'll let our knees drop open. And let's think about a neutral spine here. So we're not rounded and we're not arched. We're just nice and comfortable. And let's start to lean forward a little bit, hinge at the hip. Let the knees drop toward the floor. You can open up your feet like a book. Let's rise up. We're going to cross our right thigh over the left. I'm just going to face you. So it's like Gomukhasana, but Anusara style, where our butt stays on the floor. And our thighs are stacked somewhat. Knees are stacked. Maybe the shins could be a straight line, but if that's too much for your hips, pull your feet in. Also, if it's too much for knees or ankles, sit up on something. And we'll just interlace the fingers and lift the chest. Try to relax your hips a little bit here. Find that neutral spine. And if your hip says it's appropriate, start to lean forward a little bit, just like you did in Baddha-Konasana, just hinging at the hip. Wow. I feel like my left leg's about to fall off. Let's rise up. We're just going to switch sides. So left leg on top. And try to hook real high up so the fleshy bits of your thigh kind of link over the fleshy bits of the other thigh. So they get kind of stuck there. Your hands can really be anywhere to help you keep your neutral back. It's very tempting to round or arch here, so make sure that you're being honest with yourself about whether you need to block, where your feet need to be, where your hands need to be. And we'll start to lean forward potentially any amount. You could always start the process and change your mind. Okay. Note to self, I need to do this later for like 20 minutes each side because this is killing me right now. Okay, we'll just slide this into double pigeon, left leg on top. Now the shins are stacking, the feet are flexed, ankles over knees, knees over ankles, and we'll lean forward about halfway and then add a twist. So we'll just slide the left arm along the arch of the left foot. So we're twisting to the right. And we'll put something of this arm, be it the wrist, forearm, elbow, tricep, shoulder, onto the arch. And twist a little more by either bringing your hands to prayer, or you can reach your right arm behind your back. Really, there's 1,000 things. Okay, and unravel, try the other side, double pigeon. So we change the legs, right leg on top. We make sure that our ankles are sturdy, flexed feet. Lean forward about halfway, and then add the twist. Unravel. Forward fold over straight legs. Parsvakonasana. And just use this to scan the body, see what else you might need before Shavasana. And we meet in Shavasana. If you have a scarf or a towel for your eyes, it's a really nice way to forget about the world. Jai Sri Ram, Jai Jai Hanuman. Jai Sri Ram, Jai Jai Hanuman. Jai Sri Ram, Jai Hanuman. Jai Sri Ram, Jai Jai Hanuman. Jaya Bajranga Bali, Baba Hanuman. Jaya Bajranga Bali, Jai Hanuman. Sangatanochana Kripanidam. Sangatanochana Kripanidam. Jai Sri Ram, Jai Jai Hanuman. 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 Jai 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 Hanuman Gosai. Vipasarahu Gurudeva Kinare. Sankatamochana Kripanidam. Lalangotala Lahishan. Jai Sri Ram, Jai Jai Hanuman. 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 Let's take a few more breaths here. We'll meet in like a minute in a sitting position. Try to maintain your heaviness when you sit up. Let's just bring one hand to the belly, one hand to the chest. And just take a deep inhale, directing your breath toward your chest so that you can expand the ribs in all directions. So that you still feel supported by your belly. Stack your bottom hand on top of your top hand so that now both hands are on the chest. On your next inhale, sip in a little extra air. When you think you can't anymore, you probably can. And on your exhale, push out all the air so that you just are increasing your capacity. Let's try that one more time. Let's bring the hands together, thumbs between the brows, and fold forward any amount. Namaste.